Welcome back to the Cohn Zone. I'm Grant Cohn. This is Lowell Cohn. Usually we talk a lot about football. Today we're going to talk a lot about cheating in baseball and the Astros. Dad, why don't you start?
Well, I want to start with a little statement. We are a little late talking about this. And part of the reason is this is a big story. This is an immense scandal. And it took me a long time to come to terms with my thoughts, my feelings, to be able to articulate them. And I want to say, I have a friend who's a doctor for the California Athletic Commission, Gary Furness in Santa Rosa, and I saw him last week, and he was very concerned with this, and we talked a lot about it.
Yes.
So some of the ideas that I'm going to put forth today are Gary's.
Right.
Okay, so with that out of the way, let me say, the way I understand it, let's first say, what did the Astros do? And then we'll say what we feel about it.
Yes. So what the Astros did, they put a camera on the opposing catcher, and they had a feed into their dugout, basically a television feed where the players could watch the opposing catcher give signs to the pitcher. They could decode the catcher's signs and send them to the batter, let them know what pitch was coming by. They would either bang trash cans, maybe one bang was an off speed, no bang was a fastball, something like that. Or there's even been implications that there were electronic buzzers on the players.
On their uniforms.
Yeah, and you could send them Morse code, or one buzz is a changeup, two buzzes is a fastball, things like that.
Why don't you talk about Altuve and his shirt?
Yeah, he hit a home run off of
Chapman
in the playoffs to go to the World Series. It was a walk-off home run. It was the biggest moment of his career as he's circling third base to score and have the big mob celebration. He holds his jersey and says, "Don't take my shirt off."
You can hear him say that.
You can see his mouth.
Yes.
You can lip read it. "Don't take my shirt off." And the implication is that why would you be thinking about your shirt when in the biggest moment of your career? Aren't you hiding a buzzer? So he runs back into the dugout, into the clubhouse, changes his shirt, comes immediately back out in the field and does his interview with whoever the guy was at home plate, like you normally do.
So let's say this. We don't know for sure what happened, but it sure looks suspicious.
It looks suspicious.
And talk about his splits, home and road.
Oh, they were in those playoffs, especially 2017. He was like Altuve was Babe Ruth at home, and on the road he was just kind of a normal second baseman.
So it makes you suspicious.
Absolutely. There's another thing. Clayton Kershaw threw 51 breaking balls in that series and didn't get one swing and miss.
Oh my goodness!
Didn't get one swing and miss. So their scheme worked. They knew the players knew what was coming.
Okay, all right. Do you think using electronic aids to steal signs for pitches is wrong?
Absolutely, it's cheating. There's a distinction between gamesmanship and cheating.
I love those words. Yeah, keep going.
Like when you're standing on second base, if the catcher doesn't want to hide his signs with you always see it on television. There's a runner on second base, the catcher all of a sudden he put down 7 signs instead of 1.
Exactly.
If he doesn't want to do that and he just wants to put a one finger down, then the runner has every right to communicate somehow to the batter what's coming. That's why they switch up the signs. That's gamesmanship. It's the same thing like if you go to a casino and you're playing blackjack and the dealer doesn't cover his hole cards. You're allowed to look. That's on him. And if you see it, he gets in trouble. He gets fired.
Right.
But if you have a technological apparatus helping you, like if you're at the casino and you have someone behind the dealer with a binoculars on him, and then he's tapping like with Morse code to you, a little buzzer onto you to tell you what hole cards. Now you're stealing money. I mean, in the movie Casino with Martin Scorsese, they did that. They caught him and they broke the guy's hand. And then after that, you're never welcome back in the casino. Imagine doing that, getting caught, and being allowed to come back to the casino the next night, which is basically what Major League Baseball did to all those players.
Okay, so you're saying, and I wholeheartedly agree, that there's a difference between gamesmanship, just looking for signs,
Yes.
And what the Astros did. Okay, big scandal.
Yes.
Horrible scandal. What I noticed is there wasn't a lot of punishment.
Yes.
Who got punished?
what, the general manager and field manager. So
Yeah, AJ Hinch from Stanford.
A couple of guys high up with the Astros, and no player was punished.
Also, 2 guys got fired, Cora and Beltre.
Yes.
Before you managed the game.
Right.
But that's it.
That's
pretty
it.
much. And the thing is, players participated.
No question.
No question. Apparently, maybe Altuve.
Yes.
And participated. So, but nothing happened to them. I have a suggestion on what I think the punishment should be.
Yeah.
I think the punishment should be that their World Series victory is voided. Now, they beat the Yankees, right?
No, they beat the Dodgers.
They beat the Dodgers.
Yeah.
What I want to say is, I would not give it to the loser.
Yeah.
Just voided for that year.
I love it.
And I think that punishes players. Yeah. It's hard to get rid of all the Houston Astros, and we're going to get into it. It could be other teams as well.
Right.
But just let's say for this moment, I'd void it and put in the record book, no champion that year, because Houston lost the right to have the championship.
That's an accurate reflection of what happened that season, not pretending like Houston earned it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't give it to the loser.
No.
It's a mark on baseball.
Yes.
But why do you think? Well, first of all, Manfred, the commissioner, who I'm not that wild about, he said that what's the big deal? The trophy is just a hunk of metal or something like that. And I want to say, it is such a stupid, irresponsible thing to say. It's a symbol. Symbols mean a lot. Crosses, Jewish stars, a view of the Capitol building. Symbols are really important in our culture, in any culture. It's not a hunk of metal. It's a reward for a great season, for winning the World Series, for being the best in the world. So, Manfred, forget it.
He knows the importance of symbols. He's just saying that so he can avoid making a stand, making a decision, taking a stand, doing something.
In Brooklyn, we call him a bum.
Yeah, a bum.
A bum.
But let's say a couple more things about why this is so bad.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, what these players did, knowingly getting this information to give them an edge, is it worse than what Pete Rose did, betting on baseball? It might be. What these players did, is it worse than what Barry Bonds did and all those steroid guys did? I think it's in the same ballpark.
Absolutely.
It's right there.
Right there.
So it's terrible. If baseball thought Pete Rose betting on games was unforgivable and punishable by, you can never be associated with the league ever again,
right?
Then why are these players still in the league?
Right. Well, now say, because you have a good theory, say why you think they're still in the league and he hasn't come down hard on players.
Well, I think it's probably bigger than the Astros.
Yeah.
If you wanted to,
I agree.
Yeah. If you wanted to ban these players for life, it wouldn't just be one of 30 teams. That's a lot of players. It'd also be probably a lot of guys from the Red Sox and the Yankees, and who knows how many teams.
Right. Now, again, we're not saying Yankees and Red Sox. We're being hypothetical. Hypothetical. But what we're saying is, come on. Do you think it's one team? The other teams knew what was going on.
Absolutely.
They wouldn't give up that edge.
From what's been reported, teams were trying to blow the whistle on the Astros for years. They felt this was common knowledge and a big open secret dating back to 2015. Teams told the league did nothing. So that
they told MLB.
MLB, nothing happened. And what message does that send to the Astros competitors? Well, I guess we should do this too.
To the Dodgers.
Yeah, I guess we should do this too.
We'd be schmucks not to.
We can't compete. And if the league is going to turn a blind eye to it, then I guess they feel that the Astros are good for baseball and this kind of stuff isn't bad for it, so we're going to do it too. So if that attitude pervaded baseball and 10 or 12 franchises started doing it, that would look very bad for Manfred. You can't punish everyone.
Right. So Manfred, who I've already called a bum, and he may very well be a bum, what he may be doing is keeping a lid on it and not letting everybody really, really know the extent of this deplorable scandal.
Right, because if it's 12 teams, that's his fault.
Yeah.
That was under his watch. That's his fault.
And he was warned.
Absolutely. And that's the thing about Mike Fiers. Like, people said that he's a snitch. Well, apparently teams have been trying to snitch out the Astros for years and it didn't work. And Fiers is the only person who brought it to public attention. If it weren't for him, the Astros would be cheating right now.
Right. So let's be real clear on this. A lot of players are angry at Fiers, and I understand it. They think he's a snitch. I think he's a hero.
I think he's a hero too. And I think of this as like organized crime.
Yeah.
What they did. I mean, the Astros took a lot of money from other players.
Yes, they did.
This is organized crime. And when they use the word like snitch, that only verifies that it's organized crime because those are that's the vocabulary of organized crime.
Right.
Snitching, rats.
Omerta.
All that stuff.
Omerta, keep your mouth shut.
Yep.
And he had no obligation to keep his mouth shut.
Nope.
In fact, his obligation was to talk.
And again, it makes me wonder how far reaching was this scandal if people are saying stuff like that?
Yeah. Very interesting. The only way you could criticize him, and this is really minor, is his timing. That he should have, I think, done it sooner when he was a member of the Astros. On the other hand, I don't know if I would have had the courage. So if he did a little thing wrong, he did a whole lot right.
Right. If he had done it when he was with the Astros and he hadn't gotten support or the investigative journalists couldn't corroborate his story, he'd be finished.
He might even have been in danger.
Yeah, he might have been must have been tough. So he could have been an even bigger hero, but he's still a hero.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what the Cohn Zohn is saying is, what the Astros did is one of the biggest scandals in the history of baseball.
Yeah.
That's how bad it is, and we're all with Mike Fiers.
Absolutely. I mean, it has to be in the same arena as what the White Sox did.
Absolutely.
Throwing games, cheating. I mean, it's kind of the same.
Yeah.
I would say so. And if baseball, 100 years ago, they took the integrity of the game very seriously. I mean, Shoeless Joe Jackson was banned for life, right?
Yeah.
And there was no second chance. These guys, it's a whole different thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And you would have to say the integrity of the game took a big hit.
Big time. I mean, compare it to the steroid era. Maybe the steroid era was, maybe the owners and general managers and managers were secretly telling the players to do it, but I think probably it was players making their own decisions and people turning a blind eye to it.
I would say that. Certainly, I believe that's how it was on the A's.
Yeah. This feels like a whole coordinated effort where everyone knows what's going on and everyone's keeping a secret. It's terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so now what you've created is fans can't look at a game and feel like this is on the up and up. What are we watching? What are we watching?
It's like pro wrestling.
Yes. Yes.
I want to come back to Manfred.
Yeah.
Who I'm calling a bum. And, it's fun to call someone a bum. I'm sorry.
I think he's earned that.
Yeah.
Manfred the bum.
There are things he's doing that of a minor, much lesser degree that I think are corrupting baseball.
Yeah.
So I want to say a few things. This thing where a relief pitcher has to pitch to 3 batters, that's this year, right?
I think it's going to be next year.
Okay.
Or it's coming up. It's coming up.
Okay. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
And here's why I want to say it. Who the hell is he to tell a manager how to manage?
Yeah.
He's telling Bruce Bochy, Frank Robinson, Bob Melvin, Tony La Russa how to manage. If I'm a manager, I want to be able to take a guy out after 1 pitch.
Right.
I want to run my team the way I want to run it. And who is this authoritarian to tell me how to run a team? I find that disgusting.
Me too.
To take it out of the hands of a manager. They're doing it enough with all these sabermetrics already, the team's taking it out of managers' hands. But if a guy is going to pitch only a lefty to a lefty, now he has to pitch to a righty, what does that do to baseball?
Right, and Manfred's doing this under the name of speeding up the game.
I didn't ask him to.
Speeding up the game. He's trying to bring in younger fans.
Yeah.
Everything he does saying that he's trying to make the game more enjoyable, faster, and more appealing to the younger generation, and he fails.
Yes.
He's not making the game more appealing to the younger generation. He's compromising the integrity of the sport. Everything he's done has had a negative impact.
And there's more. How about he's experimenting with robo-umps?
Robo-umps.
Like all of a sudden an umpire... I understand umpires have different strike zones. That's part of the tradition of baseball. You learn to adjust. And you know what? Sometimes there are arguments. And that's part of the tradition too. Guys get thrown out, whatever. I don't want to take the human element out of baseball. I don't want some... And what's more, I think some of these robo-umps will get it wrong anyway.
Right.
So, yeah.
Manfred's trying to bring baseball into the 21st century and embrace technology, and I get that. But when you take that to the nth degree, you get the Astros.
I love it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And what I like about baseball is it's 100% nostalgic.
Yeah. And isn't he trying to do something with the shifts?
Yeah, if he would had it his way, he's been trying to outlaw the shift for years.
No.
No.
A manager ought to be able to put his players anywhere he wants. If he wants to play with 2 outfielders, that's his business. It's the manager's business. It's not some guy in New York.
And I just hate every rule change in baseball because baseball is the oldest sport, and the whole tone of it is not changing it.
They wear those uniforms.
Look at the uniforms they're wearing. I mean, it's like it's 1895.
Right.
Look at the bats. Look at the gloves. It's like
a leather glove.
A leather glove. It's like
a hunk of wood.
It's like the movie Field of Dreams.
Yeah.
You build the field in the middle of the cornfield, and that stays frozen in time forever.
Forever.
You build up around it. Yeah. A city builds up. A stadium builds up. But on that field, it's frozen in time. The pacing, everything about it. And to bring that part into the 21st century is not why I like baseball.
Right, that's football.
That's football. That's basketball.
Right.
With the clock and all that, the replays and stuff. I don't like replaying baseball.
Hey, listen, I still don't like the designated hitter.
Right.
And I want to tell you why I don't like the designated hitter. I believe there's a certain morality in baseball. In order to get the privilege of batting, you have to field your position.
Yes.
Unless, of course, you're a pinch hitter. I understand that. But you need to have a glove. You need to be a baseball player.
Yes. Yes.
You feel that way as well?
And the counter argument is watching pitchers bat is boring. Well, there's certain traditions in baseball that some people think are boring that I like. The intentional walk, that's gone.
Oh, I hate that. You need to throw the 4 pitches.
Yeah, I like those traditions, and I like the whole idea that a sport remained frozen in time for 150 years.
Iggy, I don't find the pitcher batting boring. By the way, sometimes you have to take out a good starter in a close game or make a decision.
Absolutely.
Because he would come up to bat.
It adds strategy.
It adds suspense.
Yes.
Yeah, and urgency.
Yes.
So anyway, okay.
Yes.
So what I'm saying is, do I like National League Baseball better than American League? Hell yes.
Right. I mean, Bochy would come out. He wouldn't just pinch it. He would do the double shift. Right. He would do all kind of stuff. The double switch that you don't see in the American League.
No.
I mean, Melvin's a terrific umpire in Oakland, but they don't really let him do much.
No,
he's not
an umpire. He's a manager.
Sorry, manager. They don't let him do much. His players aren't really allowed to steal bases.
Right.
They can't hit and run. They don't do sacrifices.
God knows what they're telling him to do over there. And remember, he was a National League ball player.
Yes.
He played for the Giants.
That's right.
He has the intelligence to do that. To do all those.
Most hardcore baseball fans are National League fans.
Absolutely.
It's the way it is. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So Manfred, he gets a big double thumbs down.
No, yeah, he's a bum. Manfred the bum.
The bum. Now, I've never met him. He might be a wonderful guy, a tremendous family man. But you know what? I wish they had a different commissioner.
I think if it's true that 10 to 12 teams reached out to him about this and he did nothing, that's enough to move on.
Yeah.
Has he made the sport better? Do you feel like owners feel confident in him moving forward? Probably not.
I don't feel confident in him.
I don't think so. No. He keeps trying to update the league, and he did. He updated it into cheating.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We've done a lot of baseball.
Yeah.
Would you like to talk a little 49ers?
Yeah. The Niners are down at the Combine right now. Free agency is going to start in about 3 weeks, but everyone's thinking about the draft, and the Niners are in an interesting spot. The last few years, they had a ton of draft picks. This year, they don't. They traded their second-round pick for Dee Ford. They traded their third-round pick for Emmanuel Sanders. So they only have a first and a fourth and stuff after that. So what do you do?
Okay.
Dad, what would you do?
Okay. I'm going to say this. This is what I learned from Bill Walsh. So it's not just Lowell the Nudnik. It's Lowell who learned from Bill. Oh, I would trade down that pick.
Yeah.
More than once.
Oh, yeah.
What I would do, again, I don't know what these guys, I don't know how John Lynch operates, and I don't know how the coach operates. That you could leverage that pick into multiple picks. You could trade it down for several and then trade some of those.
Oh, yeah.
So
trade down and trade down again.
I would try to, from that pick, get 4 or 5.
Yeah. The Seahawks last year were in the same position, and they turned their first-round pick into 6. 6 picks.
Yeah. Well,
that's what you do.
Absolutely. And if what I'm saying, look, the Niners are getting a lot of, as they deserve, a lot of good press.
Yes.
People are not second-guessing their moves. They could use the first pick
right.
And get a player who's a franchise player and make them Super Bowl champs. I don't think so. I don't think that's going to happen. So I would say Bill, if he were in the room, would say, who else is out there? What do you need? Let's trade down.
Yes.
So what do they need?
The Niners need very few things.
Okay.
They need a cornerback maybe a safety if Jimmy Ward doesn't come back, and a guard. I think those three. I mean, you could use other things too, but they've drafted a lot of wide receivers the last few years. They've drafted linebackers. They have a million defensive linemen. Two things: if they could get a starting caliber corner in the first round or at the beginning of the second round, they'd be in a great spot. Those are the positions they need to go, because even though their defense was the strength of the team last year, we saw it against really good offenses late in the season. Richard Sherman was vulnerable, and Emmanuel Mosley was vulnerable, and the guy they liked the most, Ahkello Witherspoon, got benched.
Right. He sort of, after he got hurt, he flopped.
Totally flopped. Mosley was solid, but he had a busted coverage in the Super Bowl on that 3rd and 15. That was his fault. And Richard Sherman can't cover man-to-man. He's terrific in zone because he's smart and he has help. But man-to-man, if he doesn't have a safety right over the top, he gets burnt. He's not a very fast player anymore.
In fact, he doesn't even seem to run well.
No, he looks like he's running in sand.
Yeah. Almost limping a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, I want to say he's a very intelligent player and he's brave.
Oh, absolutely.
He is really brave, but a cornerback needs to be able to run.
Right. And if your cornerback can only play zone coverage, that means your defense can only play zone coverage, and offenses can tear that apart. You have to have some surprise.
So let me ask you this, Iggy. If there's a terrific cornerback out there and they can get it, the Niners, with their first-round pick,
That is a great question. Do it.
would you use the pick on the cornerback, or would you still not use it and continue to trade down?
I think I would trade down.
Say why.
I don't think one good rookie cornerback at the end of the first round is going to be the difference between the Niners winning a Super Bowl or not next year. I think they got to look at this draft as an opportunity to replenish the depth in their roster, because they're going to lose it. When you have to pay Armstead, or maybe not him, but Kittle and Buckner, you're going to have to let a lot of people go. And if you're not replenishing the roster with draft picks, then all of a sudden you're going to have no depth. So I would say you could probably get just as good of a corner with the 40th pick that you could get with the 30th pick.
And
Trade
you
down.
can get more.
Trade down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to bring up another subject. I have a friend who's, I guess you'd call a handicapper, Dennis Ranahan.
Okay.
You know Dennis. And we were chatting on the phone the other day, and I said, how do you rate the Niners for next season, and do you see them as a Super Bowl contender? And he said, boy, Lowell, that's very early to ask me that question.
That's fair.
He said, I don't know the answer.
Right.
But he said, I do know this. Teams that lose in the Super Bowl have a lot of trouble getting back. He said,
That's a fact.
It's a fact.
It's a fact.
He said, look at the facts.
Yep.
And he said, what happens is they often have an off year, i.e., the Rams.
They often do. Absolutely.
And it's a psychological blow to lose it. They often have an off year and then do better. He's saying, I think the Rams will be a better team this season, this coming season, than they were last season. I have my doubts about that.
And why is it such a psychological blow? You try to move on, but the rest of the world hasn't.
Yeah.
You're telling yourself, okay, it's over with. Let's move on to the next season. You lost. Sure, you lost the Super Bowl, but let's move on. I mean, the meat guy at Safeway hasn't moved on, and the Uber driver hasn't moved on, and the entire world, when they look you in the eye, you see it in their face. They see you lost the Super Bowl.
When you say the meat guy at Safeway, you mean Francis Barry?
Francis Barry.
Our hi, Francis.
Hey, Francis, how you doing?
Our dear friend. I don't know. Francis may have moved on. Francis really loves the Niners.
I bet you Francis has not quite moved on yet.
We'll have to go over to meet at the meat department and talk to him.
Maybe Francis is good, but just taking an informal poll of the 49er fans on Twitter, they have not moved on. This has been a tough one for him.
Yeah. And okay, so let me ask you this. Do you think the Niners can be, let's say, we'll rule out the fact that Super Bowl losers have trouble in next season. They do, but let's pretend they don't.
Yes.
Do you think the Niners can get back to the Super Bowl and even win it with what they have now, just maturing?
Yeah.
Or is it more complicated than that?
They can, but I wouldn't expect it.
Why?
Just like Dennis Ranahan said, it's statistically a fact, it's hard. But beyond that, I think the Niners, their schedule's going to be tougher next year.
Right.
Their schedule's not. I mean, last year they were coming off a 4-12 season, so they were playing a bunch of teams that were the last place team in their division.
Yeah.
Now they're going to be playing a bunch of teams that were the first place team in their division. So there's that, and also, again, the best player on their team, George Kittle, was making $500,000 or something like that. Now you're going to be paying him like $15 million a year. I think now that you're going to have to give these guys raises, the fact that you're paying Jimmy Garoppolo $27 to $28 million a year is going to become an issue.
Simply because it may affect, for example, they may not be able to keep Armstead.
Right. And he's not a $28 million a year quarterback. They hide him. They run the ball.
Yeah.
They run the ball. They throw a lot of short passes. And, he might be worth $19 million a year, but for what they're paying him, I think the Niners are finally going to start to show some vulnerability because they don't have this. Like last year, they had the deepest roster in the league. They had the best player in the league, or one of them, making nothing. George Kittle was the biggest bargain in sports the last 3 years. They don't have that kind of roster anymore. That's what happened to the Rams. When the Rams were great, they were paying Goff nothing. They were paying Todd Gurley nothing. They were paying Aaron Donald nothing. All those guys got big-time extensions, and now they're like a regular football team. The Niners weren't a regular football team last year. They were supercharged with great players making nothing, and that era is over.
And so what you're saying is the result of that is economic. They may not be able to keep certain players,
yes.
So they may actually hurt themselves, like on the defensive line.
Right. I don't see how the Niners can be better next year than they were last year. I think they're going to take a step back. They're probably going to lose Eric Armstead. They're probably going to lose Emmanuel Sanders and Jimmy Ward. How do you get better when you only have one draft pick and $13 million in cap space? My idea is to trade Jimmy Garoppolo and sign Tom Brady and do really radical stuff. But if you don't do that, I think you're basically saying, let's bring back 90% of the team last year and lose some really important players like Eric Armstead and hope you make it back. The rest of the league's going to get better.
Okay, you just brought up this point about Brady and Garoppolo. Now, a lot of people watching and listening to us love Jimmy.
Of course.
And think he's...
Joe Montana. Incarnate.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
Steve Young,
Yeah.
a right-handed Steve Young.
Yeah.
What I get on Twitter predominantly is people saying, why would you go for Brady, who's a rental, and you understand that, a year, 2 years, when you have this young guy who's developing beautifully and he'll be better next season? It doesn't make any sense. How do you argue against that?
Basically what they're saying is, why settle for just one Super Bowl ring when you could get 2 or 3 or 4 with Jimmy Garoppolo? Because the Niners haven't won a Super Bowl in 25 years.
Yeah.
It's not that easy to win a Super Bowl. They've gone to it twice in the last 25 years and lost. It's entirely possible that Jimmy Garoppolo will never make it back to the Super Bowl, and if he does, he'll choke again in the fourth quarter because he did choke. If you have an opportunity with a roster like this to win one Super Bowl and go all in, you do it.
Okay, I want to second that emotion.
You go all in. You do it.
It's a big deal to win a Super Bowl.
And you don't have a window of opportunity like this often in the NFL.
Right.
You don't have a roster like this often.
So if you can get Tom Brady, and don't tell me he's too old.
Yeah.
He's better than Jimmy Garoppolo.
He is.
If you could get him, and if the Niners could get him for the upcoming season, they would be instantly a Super Bowl contender.
And think about, if they don't get him, where's he going to go? Because whichever team gets him is probably going to become the instant Super Bowl favorite. So say the Niners say, let's just stick with Jimmy and stay the course. What if the Cowboys get Tom Brady and you put him with Amari Cooper and Ezekiel Elliott? All of a sudden, the Cowboys are the favorites to come out of the NFC, and you're thinking, well, we missed our opportunity.
Absolutely.
Now Tom Brady's in our way, and he is.
I love it.
Now he's blocking our window. Our Super Bowl window. So yeah, I think unless they do something drastic like that, they're stuck with an overpaid quarterback, and I think that's going to finally become just like the Rams. They paid Jared Goff, and it was evident right away. Why did you do that?
Yeah.
So
now, people listening to us will say, you're being disloyal, Grant. You're being disloyal, Lowell. How do you answer that?
The way I look at it is a lot of these fans are bigger fans of Jimmy Garoppolo than the 49ers. Kyle Shanahan isn't that way. No. John Lynch isn't that way. John Lynch is loyal to the organization, and he needs to have conversations like that with his front office. Do we trade Jimmy Garoppolo? Do we trade him for out of loyalty to the organization? If you don't have that conversation, you're not doing your job.
Right.
I mean, Bill Walsh discussed trading Joe Montana.
I know a coach who was in a meeting, one of his coaches, and he walked in, he said, I have an idea. I'm thinking of trading Joe Montana and making Steve Young the starting quarterback. Everybody in the room who agrees with me, these are all his coaches.
Yeah.
Raise your hand. not one raised his hand.
Yes.
Nothing against Steve. This is when Steve maybe was not quite ready.
Yeah, 86, 87, something like
and
that.
Bill never did trade him. Seifert got rid of him.
Yes.
But Bill, and I don't know if Joe knows this or not, but it's a fact because a coach who was in that room told me. So Bill was flirting with the idea, and he was loyal to not to Joe, but to the organization. I want to say one other thing. I said fans will say that we're being disloyal. There is no such thing as a sports writer being disloyal because we don't root for the team.
Yeah.
I'm not loyal to the team, and I'm not disloyal to the team. Yeah. I'm detached, and that's how Grant is too.
Absolutely.
I think that might be where we stop today.
I think that's a good place to stop.
Okay. Nice to see you people again.
Nice to see you too.
Nice to see you, Iggy.
All right, Dad. Let's do it next time.